We are back. I got the minivan again, so now it's time to start finding some stores and doing some Skylanders hunting. So the weather is less than ideal. When I woke up this morning, it was negative 16 degrees. That's without the wind chill. Wind chill put it somewhere at like negative 40. So trying not to be outside too much, and hopefully heading down south a little bit where it'll warm up slightly. But we'll see how that goes. I'm actually doing a little bit of hunting here in Wisconsin yet before I get out of the state. I haven't done much in state, honestly, because there's nothing like near my house, but I'm already like 3 hours away from my house. So we'll see if we can find something here in the Madison, Wisconsin area. Well, I barely made it 2 blocks, and I decided I needed to stop. I didn't even make it to my official first stop. I drove by this Pawn America store, and I used to have one of these in my town, and they actually did carry some Skylanders back in the day. So it's been a few years, but I figure I'm driving right by. I might as well stop in and see if I can find some good stuff here too. Nothing much doing there, but I'm still glad I stopped to check it out. The first official stop of the day, Mega Media Exchange here in Madison, Wisconsin. They do actually have quite a nice selection of Skylanders and have them nicely displayed in this case here. Always happy to see that. Everything is pretty fairly priced. There are set prices for the figures, portals, accessories, and so on. Even the new in-box stuff, which is a rarity to see in a lot of places, seems to be fairly priced as well. Found a small selection of games for the Wii U. Didn't pick up any, but once again, good prices. First official stop in the books, and we have our first pickups of this trip. So I guess we're off to a good start. We'll see if that luck continues. Here we picked up 2 thumpbacks, 2 Series 1 Hex, grabbed 2 healing elixirs, Series 1 Zap, Dark Light Crypt, and we got a chill, specifically Purple Lip Chill. Moving on to stop number 2 for the day. Another video game exchange type of place here. I think that might actually be the name of the store. Video game exchange? Something like that. It's in a downtown area. Parking is very limited. I did actually find a small parking lot meant for this store, but it's like across the street, and I don't feel it was very clearly marked. In any case, we're parked. Now we're going to go inside and hopefully find some Skylanders. We'll keep this short and sweet. Small, darkly lit, and it looks like prices were probably going to be high anyway, even if there were Skylanders. But no Skylanders to be seen anywhere. No games, no figures, no nothing. On to what I believe is our final stop here in the Madison, Wisconsin area. We have Pre-Played Exchange. I think all of these stores have had the name Exchange in the title. It's kind of interesting, kind of boring. Yeah. They need better names for these stores. In any case, I'm hoping for some good finds here before we head out of town and out of state, actually. Head down into Illinois after this. So, wish me luck. Well, no figures here, but we did make our second purchase of the day, so that's something. The store overall was decent, but there seemed to be a lot of empty shelves, like a lot of empty shelf space. So I don't know if they just are always that empty, or if this is a low point in the year or in the cycle, or however that works. But yeah, not a ton to look at, unfortunately. Here we just picked up 2 games for the Wii U. We got 1 copy of Swap Force and 1 copy of Trap Team. All right, we made it down into Illinois to some more familiar hunting grounds here. I had never been to any of those stores in Madison before, but now we're back at Disc Replay in Rockford, Illinois. This spot has been hit or miss. I mean, it's really about a 50-50 shot. Like, they're pretty much guaranteed to have figures. The question is it just going to be the scraps, the leftovers, just the starter pack figures and broken figures? Or is it going to be a fresh batch of Imaginators and everything in between? Time will tell. So let's run in and find out what we got. Well, that was absolutely the best stop of the day so far. I mean, we have one more stop to go today, but in a place where I usually expect to find more figures, I did get a couple of figures, but actually picked up more games this time. Here we got a couple of figures, including Boomer from Spyro's Adventure and Gusto from Trap Team. I did pick up a portal here. This is another glow-in-the-dark portal. This one is for the 360. And then we picked up a small stack of games. Got Skylanders Giants for the 360. And this trip overall was a good trip for Xbox One in particular, but also a little bit of PS4. So here we got Superchargers for the Xbox One and a copy of Imaginators for the PS4. All right, last stop of the day here in Naperville, Illinois. We got one more disc replay for today. I'm not sure I've ever been to this location. I've been to a lot of disc replays, even a lot of them in Illinois, but I'm not sure. This isn't usually on my path, so I don't think I've actually gone Skylanders hunting at this particular store. So we're going to find out together what kind of selection they have, if anything at all. Well, that was a super solid stop. Tons of games in there. Tons and tons of games. I ended up getting 12 games, but there's plenty left there. The figure selection was a little bit sparse. Still picked up a few there. And a flat $199 per figure pricing is fantastic. I found it interesting. While I was checking out, the cashier asked me if Skylanders was making a comeback again. And I told him, I don't think it's really another comeback or anything. It's just, what I do. But he's like, yeah, it seemed weird because this week in particular, a lot of people have been in buying Skylanders. So I find that interesting. Apparently there was even more at this store than what I saw here today. So glad to see people are still buying. That usually, is a good sign to stores like this to keep buying collections and acquiring Skylanders, so we can get more and more of them into the hands of collectors who actively want them right now. Here we were able to pick up both games and figures. From Spyro's Adventure, we got another Boomer, Voodooed, Zook, and Bash. One figure from Giants in a Series 2 Stealth Elf, and one Swap Force figure, we got Twin Blade Chop Chop. Then moving into the games, we got 2 copies of Giants for the PS3, along with 2 copies of Superchargers for the PS3, and 1 copy of Spyro's Adventure, also for the PS3. I grabbed 2 copies of Giants for the Wii, 1 copy of Spyro's Adventure for the 360, a couple more games for the Wii U, including 1 copy of Giants, and 1 copy of Swap Force. And finally, for the Xbox One, we have 1 copy of Superchargers, and the ever-elusive Swap Force for the Xbox One. It was a good stop, good signs for Skylanders all around, and we're done for the day. Calling quits a little bit early today, just because this is how I mapped things out, but tomorrow we're going to get started early, we're going to go hard, and we have a lot of stops to make and a lot of ground to cover. So stay tuned. We're coming at you with day 2 right now. Day 2. Welcome to day 2. It's early. I'm not really ready to be up, but have a lot of driving to do and a lot of stops I want to make. It's going to be tight. I don't know if we're going to be able to make them all, and this isn't even the worst day of the trip. So we'll see how we do today and adjust as needed. Well, I have finally made it to my first stop of the day. Media Exchange out here in Elkhart, Indiana. Had to fight through a I-94 road closure. They closed all the lanes, so we had to detour for that. Drove through a snowstorm on the way here. So I'm really hoping this is worth it. Hoping we can find something here and make the trip worthwhile. It's nearly 2 hours later, and I'm leaving Media Exchange, my first stop of the day. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit in all my other stops today, but we're still going to try. That was quite the experience, though. That was quite the experience. They do have a lot of Skylanders, and I'll go into more detail in just a minute. Now, my next stop comes from a recommendation from a viewer. The store is Media Exchange in Elkhart, Indiana. Now, I will say, I picked up a lot of Skylanders for here. This is probably my biggest pickup of loose figures from a used game store ever. I think the most in number and definitely the most in price. But I need to talk about that a little bit. I picked up a lot of figures from this store that I wouldn't normally pick up. Or at least I should clarify, I wouldn't normally pick up at these prices. Now, it's not that this store is overcharging by any means. For most of their figures, they were looking up eBay sold prices and using those and kind of gauging off of those. And that's fair. That's market value. That's an acceptable way of pricing items. The major problem I had with this store was access to the figures. Now, this was something I had been told about ahead of time by the community member who recommended this store to me. But after experiencing it for myself and having a good long time to think about it in the car as I was driving around the country the following week, the more I thought about it, the more I really don't like what they're doing here. You see, this store does have Skylanders figures out for sale. They have a glass case with figures in it, much like any other store that I've been to. But this case only contains a very small fraction of the figures that are actually in this store. Now, there's no signage. There's no neon lights saying, hey, there's more Skylanders in the back or anything like that. Even when I initially asked if they had Skylanders in the store, they just pointed me to the glass case. It wasn't until we unlocked the glass case and I started pulling out about 6, 8, 10 figures that I wanted to buy that one of the employees said, hey, if you're really interested in Skylanders, we actually have a lot more in back, but we require a $100 deposit. We require a $100 deposit just to look at the Skylanders. Let's think about that for a bit. That's a pretty big ask. And their reasoning is it takes effort to pull out these large bins of Skylanders from their back room. In reality, it took them less than 5 minutes to pull out the bins, maybe 2 or 3 minutes to pull out. I think there were 4 bins of Skylanders. And it's not like they were overwhelmed. Well, I was in there looking at the Skylanders in the glass case and then requesting the Skylanders out of the back room. I didn't see a single other customer in the store. Now, during the next 2 hours that I was in the store, and we'll get to that in a minute, I did see, I think, 3 other customers come in the store. But still, my point stands, like, they're not busy, they're not overwhelmed. Taking 5 minutes out of your schedule to grab these bins from the back should not require a $100 deposit. But that deposit is just the beginning. After I paid the deposit and the bins were brought out to me, I was allowed to look through them freely. I could dig through them, pull out what I wanted, and I asked about pricing because none of these figures had prices on them. Now, I had remembered seeing a sign out on the glass case earlier that gave some generic values for figures. And they did say, like, unless otherwise marked, and many of the figures in the case were marked. Not all of them, but many of them. And so I assumed, perhaps, they would just be going by the prices on that sign. Make things quick and easy, and get in, get out, get a lot of stuff sold. That wasn't the case. I was told that they were going to look up all the figures I picked out individually and price them as we went along. So now, not only did I have to pay a $100 deposit, I had to do essentially the work of sifting through these bins, finding the figures I wanted, checking for damage, basically doing their job for them. But then I had to wait a lot longer. Like I said, I was in this store for 2 hours. I had to wait for them to go through all the figures, look them up one at a time, find a price, pull out their sticker gun, price the figures, and then eventually give me my total. Now, as I said earlier, based on the prices that they were giving me, they were using eBay sold prices. I probably only would have bought about 10 of these figures. But as I sat there with plenty of time to think while they were pricing out these figures, I realized most people aren't going to pay that $100 deposit. Most people are not going to take the time to dig through these bins. Most people are not going to wait 2 hours for them to price these figures. Something that, in my opinion, should have been done a long time ago. If you've been following the channel for a long time, you know that it is my mission to help as many people as possible complete their collections. That is my main overarching goal. And it was with that goal in mind that I made the decision to buy a lot more figures. Overall, I ended up purchasing 79 figures and spending just over $700. Now, I haven't done the exact math on this lot yet, but my guess is I'm making less than $100 profit on this. And by the time, I pay my employees to test and reset these figures, get them listed in the shop, and then get them shipped out, it's possible I'm losing money on this deal. But I just did not like the thought of these being tossed back into the back room and being stored there indefinitely until someone else came along who was willing to put down that $100 deposit and might pull out some of these figures for their collection. Most of these figures, I'm paying market price. I'm paying what I would sell them for. And so, after you pay tax on them, I'm now selling them for less than I bought them for. And the math on it does not make sense. But there were so many good figures in here that I know you are looking for that I needed to get them out of that back room. I needed to get them out of that store. I need to get them into the hands of the collectors that are looking for them. So I had very mixed feelings about this store. Typically, I would say I'm thrilled that they're carrying Skylanders. I'm thrilled that they have literally hundreds and hundreds of figures in the store. But the fact of the matter is that they have them stashed away in a back room behind a paywall, a literal paywall. You have to pay $100 just to be able to see the figures. So I wasn't particularly thrilled with the experience overall. I'm glad I got to get my hands on these figures, and I'm glad that they're going to make their way to my shop where you can actually get your hands on them. So with that being said, let's get into the good stuff and see what we actually picked up. And hopefully I picked up something good that you can use, and we'll get it into your collection. From Spyro's Adventure, we have a Series 1 Slam Bam, Green Gill Grunt, Sunburn, Legendary Trigger Happy, Legendary Chop Chop, Legendary Bash. And of course, we round out that set with Legendary Spyro. There's a Series 1 Zap, 2 Series 1 Bash. We got 4 Boomers. We've got 6 Voodooed and 3 more Darklight Crypts. From Skylanders Giants, we have Ninjini, Series 2 Bash, Series 2 Zap, Molten Hot Dog with his tail intact, a Sidekick, orange base there, Mini Genie. And we found a Legendary Light Core Chill. From Skylanders Swap Force, There's a Lightcore Whamshell, Lightcore Warnado, Lightcore Bumbleblast. There's a Dark Ninja Stealth Elf, 2 Dark Slobbertooth, along with 2 Dark Spyro, 2 Volcanic Eruptors, 2 Thornhorn Camo, 3 Archean Crossbows, 3 Sheepwreck Islands, Magna Charge, Dark Washbuckler, and the big man himself, Doomstone. From Skylanders Trap Team, we got a Mini Genie, Crypt King, 2 Headrush, 3 Jawbreakers, and these 2 Tech Flying Helmet Traps. Now, there were a bunch of other traps, but I know eBay prices are very high on traps. So these are the only 2 I bothered to pick up because they have the potential to have a villain variant inside. So that's my main reason for picking them up. As of this moment, I actually don't know if they have the villain variant inside or not. From Skylanders Superchargers, we got Fiesta, Bone Bash Roller Brawl, 2 Nightfalls, 1 Hammer Slam Bowser, and 2 Hot Streaks. Once again, these I really only picked up for the potential of being a mobile hot streak. I should basically break even if they're just normal hot streaks, but with the potential of the mobile hot streak out there, I figured why not? We'll get them out there and see if we can help someone add that piece to their collection. I did stumble across 1 Eon's Elite figure, so we got Eon's Elite Voodooed. Then from Skylanders Imaginators, I picked up a few creation crystals. Now, there were a lot more creation crystals there that I left behind, but like I said, they weren't the best prices, but I know they have been a little bit more popular in the shop recently. A lot of people have been buying them. We've been selling out of a few of them, and so I figured I should pick some up and help out those folks who are looking for them once again. Got 1 Air Angel, 3 Tech Reactors, 2 Magic Pyramids, 1 Magic Lantern, 1 Undead Claw, 1 Light Fanged, 1 Life Acorn, and 2 Dark Pyramids. So there you have it. Those were the 79 figures that I picked up from this store. All right, 20 minutes away in Goshen, Indiana, there is Media Exchange 2. Same company as the last store I was just at, obviously. Media Exchange and Media Exchange 2. I saw business cards at the other store advertising both of them. So I don't know if they have Skylanders as well, but we're going to find out. So they did have Skylanders at this location as well. Not as big of a selection, but definitely a better selection, I guess. But unfortunately, once again, they were looking at prices on the fly, and that very much limited what I could pick up for the shop. So I did get a bunch of games though, so that's good. But figures were a little bit lacking in the pickup area. I couldn't see any immediate prices on figures, but there was a very similar sign on the case that said, hey, figures with this color base are this price, and figures with this color base are this price, and so on and so forth. It's basically the same sign as the first store, but actually had a little bit more detail specifically for the Giants figures. I once again hoped that would be the pricing on these figures, but when I went to ask, the employee there told me that yes, most of them will follow that sign unless they're a variant. And he gave me an example, I think like Tree Rex and the Gnarly Tree Rex. Like the Gnarly Tree Rex, the blue one, would be a figure that they would look up and price separately. I'm like, okay, that seems fair. So standard figures go according to the price on the sign, and then other figures, like variant figures, you look up. Once again, that seems fair. Not my ideal way of running things, but it seems fair. So with this in mind, I went and picked out about a dozen figures. He took these figures over to the register and started to look them up. The prices here in general seem to be higher than the other store, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if they were using eBay Solds. I actually didn't ask at this location. I assumed since they were the same company, they probably are, but I just don't know. So I actually declined most of these figures. The one that surprised me the most, though, was when he got to Ninjini. She wasn't priced at the time, but he's like, oh, I guess I better look this one up too. And he looked at the screen and looked kind of shocked. He's like, oh, I guess these figures have been going up. And then priced it at like $10. Where if they had priced it according to the sign, it should have been much less than that. And I was confused by this once again because, like, he explained to me, like, variants they're going to look up and everything else should go according to the price of the sign. Like, and it just felt like nothing was going according to the price of the sign. So, like, what is the point of these signs that they have on the case? Like, if you're just going to look everything up and price it all individually, what is the point of even putting out any kind of sign? I didn't leave here empty-handed either. Like I said, I already had a stack of games that I wanted, and those were priced individually, so I knew what prices those were going to be. But I did pick up a few figures as well. We got a Red Drill Sergeant, Popthorn, Freezeblade, Night Shift, and a Midnight Museum. In the games department, we picked up Spyro's Adventure for the 360, Superchargers for the 360, Imaginators for the 360, Superchargers for the Xbox One, and then 2 copies of Trap Team for the Xbox One. So overall, I feel that second stop was probably more worth it than the first stop, especially given how much time I spent in the store. And it just, I was a little bit frustrated at that point because I had some time to think about what was going on with the first location, and my mind was not in a good place. That was a rough way to start the day. Those were my first 2 stops of the day, and to top it off, I had just driven through a snowstorm, and it was a rough morning, but we were still able to pick up a few things, and we'll get them into the shop shortly and hopefully help you get closer to completing your collection. All right, because of that first stop of the day that took 2 hours, I am running way behind schedule. There's a good chance I'm not going to be able to fit all my stops in. I'm going to move as quickly as possible. Some of these places I've been before, so I'm just going to kind of spot check and look where I've seen things before, because they're more the flea market style of shops. And so if I've been there before and I've seen Skylanders in a certain area, I'll check there and then probably just get out. Unfortunately today I don't have a lot of time to waste and check out all the booths within the flea market to see if any new vendors have started selling Skylanders. These are good places to check if you are in the area. You never know what you might find, who might show up. All right, first things first, there is absolutely nothing even remotely interesting at that Shadeland Peddlers Mall. So we moved on. Now I've taken some time to reassess my situation, and as it so happens, my last stop that I wanted to make tonight is roughly 2 hours away from where I currently am. It is currently 5:26, and that shop closes at 7. So there is no way, absolutely no way, that I can get remotely close to even making that last stop. So the good news is that I can now take my time. I actually have 3 more stops here in the Indianapolis area that I want to check out, and I can take my time doing that. We'll see. We will hit these 3 stops for sure, and then we'll head down towards Kentucky, and maybe I'm gonna have to check out what my day looks like tomorrow, but maybe I can hit up the shop in Kentucky before I leave in the morning. The tricky part with these game stores is that they all open at like 11 or 12. If it's a chain store like Game Exchange, you might get lucky and they'll open at 10 or something like that. But, you know, nerds like to sleep in, so it makes sense from a business standpoint. But for me, who has limited time on the road and I'm trying to hit as many stores as possible, it is not an ideal situation. We're going to try to make the most of what we have left here tonight, and I'll let you know what I find. Well, next Peddler's Mall, I mean, technically saw 2 Skylanders games and 1 lone Disney Infinity figure, but it was pretty much a bust. So, moving on now to the Exchange. These are rare in Indiana, but there are a handful of them. They're really based in Ohio. They're all over Ohio, at least northern Ohio, and slowly have expanded to like Pennsylvania and Indiana. I don't know if they have plans for more expansions. I would love it because these stores are fantastic. So this store, I expect to at least carry Skylanders. We'll see if they have anything worthwhile today that I can pick up. As you can see, everything here is super common. It's been very picked over, but I still cannot say enough good things about the Exchange as a franchise. Like, their stores are immaculate. I love their setup. I love how brightly lit and organized everything is. It's just such a pleasure to walk into that store. I could hang out there all day, honestly. But nothing there for us to buy today. We'll continue on. One more stop for the tonight. Not necessarily super hopeful based on our other stops today, but we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So that's not a bad way to finish out the night. Few games. Actually picked up 4 games there and saw some figures, and not just your common figures. They were priced well for any collector for sure, but not at a price point where I could pick them up for the shop. Emporium 40E, if you're interested, there are a few Skylanders figures here. This location, we picked up just a few Wii U games. We managed to find another copy of Giants for the Wii U. I know this one has been tougher to find, and a lot of folks are looking for it. So always happy to pick up another copy. There's a copy of Swap Force for the Wii U, and 2 copies of Imaginators for the Wii U. All right, so quick update from my hotel room here. I thought I was gonna be out of luck with my schedule for tomorrow and the shop that I missed tonight. But I think what part of what messed me up today was the time change. I lost an hour when I went into this at Eastern time zone from Central. But tomorrow, I'm actually reversing that already. Like, I'll be going from Kentucky back into, well, Alabama and then Tennessee, or Tennessee then Alabama. Yep, you know how geography works. Anyway, the point being that I will be returning to the Central time zone tomorrow already. And so I believe that extra hour will actually allow me enough time to start here in Kentucky with the shop that I missed tonight, and then still be able to make all the other shops I had planned on doing tomorrow. So this may have actually worked out quite well for me. We'll see if it actually works out in theory tomorrow, or if I spend another 2 hours at a game store that I wasn't planning on. But we'll find out tomorrow. Day 3. All right, we are back in action for day 3. And today, we're getting a little bit of a, not late necessarily because it was planned, but it's a slow start because it's about 10 minutes before 11 a.m. But that's when game stores start to open. So we are hitting up the first store here in Florence, Kentucky. Nostalgic Video Games and Arcade. I can see it right there. But we have a few minutes until it opens, so we will be in there very soon. And then hit the road again to find some more shops. Nostalgic Video Games is a fantastic little spot. I really like that shop. It's, I mean, not huge, but has a ton of stuff in it. Like, it was, once again, brightly lit. Most things were in cases. It felt like it could have been an early version, like an early iteration of the Exchange or something like that. And yeah, I like the way they run. They do have plenty of Skylanders games. They actually have quite a few figures. The downside for me, not for you, but for me, is that the prices almost always aligned with what I sell them for, it felt like. So that is something that, I mean, I just have to deal with. But that is good for you, that if you're in the Florence, Kentucky area, go check them out. They got good prices. They got fair prices. They're not gonna charge you an arm and a leg. Everything felt pretty fair there, honestly. So, Florence, Kentucky, Nostalgic Video Games, Skylanders. This location I decided to pick up 2 Clown Cruisers, 2 Crit Crushers, 1 Lightcore Bumble Blast, Imaginators for the Xbox One, and that's right, we found it in the glass case, copy of Swap Force for the PS4. The first Skylanders game ever to be made for the PS4. All right, we're back in Indiana, technically. But the next 5 or 6 stops, I believe I have been to all of them previously. And this southern Indiana, northern Kentucky area around Louisville is very good for Skylanders. At least I'm pretty sure I found Skylanders at every one of these locations last time I was here. So hopefully they still have Skylanders. Hopefully they've gotten some new stuff, and we can bring some stuff to the shop. So it looks like a lot of the Skylanders that I remember being at that particular location have sold, or at least been moved or something. Those showcases up front are really where the bulk of the video game stuff is held most of the time. But I was still able to get one game, which I remember being there last time as well. So, Swap Force for the Xbox One. We got another copy. If you're looking for it, it'll be in the shop soon. And for our next location, I literally just drove across 3 parking lots to get over here. It's in the outlot of a mall, it looks like. But Hollywood Movies and Games. First of 2 locations we'll be visiting today. So we'll check this one out. I remember I had really good luck here last time. I think I found a PS4 game and some Trap Masters maybe. So we'll see. We'll see what today brings. All right, so that last shop was kind of a bust for us. They did have some Skylanders in there yet. Maybe a little overpriced on some. Some of the games definitely felt overpriced. It is a shop that if you are local and you want to pick up some stuff in person, that's a place you can check out for sure. But we are going to move on to our second Hollywood movies and games right now and see if we have any better luck here. Who knows? You never know what you might find. I've been surprised many, many times before, and I'm sure this won't be the last. So they did still have some figures and better stuff than the last location. I do think that they're still overpriced on their more expensive stuff in particular. Their games seem to be a flat $10, but looking through some of the common figures, I did pick up a few things. We grabbed a Thumpback, and I did find a little hot dog with his tail intact, so we grabbed him as well. But that's it for this store. So I think we're out of Indiana now and back into Kentucky, and we'll hit up a few game exchange locations, I think. All right, back in Kentucky for our first game exchange location of the day and of the trip, I think. But get used to it, because over the next 2 days, we are going to visit a lot of game exchange locations. Possibly as many as a dozen or so, maybe more. Yeah, they are quite prevalent around here. I have had good luck with them in the past, and they continue to be recommended to me by community members to look for Skylanders at Game Exchange. So we're going to keep looking for Skylanders at Game Exchange. Let's go. Not a great start to our Game Exchange journey here, but we'll try store number 2 and see. I mean, anything at this point is going to be better, really. It's hard. It's going to be hard to do worse than that first store. So let's go in and see what we find. Well, we struck out again at Game Exchange number 2. Here's hoping it's not 3 in a row. You know what happens if you get 3 strikes. All right, well, that was my last stop in Kentucky, I believe, for this trip. Not quite as good as I had hoped, but we did get some games and some portals, and some good deals on some of those too. Very unique situation there today. Their systems were down to at least partially, and so they couldn't take card payments, and so they were doing everything by hand. Like, they had to write down every item that was purchased, the price, the item number, all that stuff, do the calculations by hand. Or, I mean, I think they were doing most of the calculations on their phone, but still, not a usual situation. Did take a little bit longer doing stuff that way, but now we are on to our next state, on to Tennessee, where I have a few places I want to hit tonight yet before we call it quits and then get ready for our big pickup tomorrow. At this store, I didn't find a ton, but I did find a few games and a few portals to take home. We grabbed 4 copies of Spyro's Adventure for the Wii, 3 copies of Giants for the Wii, and 1 copy of Trap Team for the Wii. We got 2 Traptanium portals for the Xbox 360, and 1 Imaginators portal for the Xbox One. All right, I made it to my next stop. This one's a little bit of a toss-up. A little bit of an unknown. It's Game Trader in somewhere just north of Nashville. Some small suburb out here. I didn't get this as a recommendation. I don't know that this is for sure going to have Skylanders. I just did a Google search. I wanted to expand my search horizon a little bit and see if there are other game stores out there. And so beyond the usual suspects of Game Exchange and McKay's and stuff like that, I want to see, yeah, what else do we have? So we're going to go check out Game Trader, and if nothing else, see a hopefully cool used retro video game store. So that last stop at Game Trader was actually kind of cool. They don't carry Skylanders figures, so that's unfortunate. But they did have a few games, including a few, harder to find Xbox One games, and I thought they were priced appropriately, and I was willing to pay the listed prices. But when I went to check out, the guy had to manually enter the prices for the games into the cash register. And when he got down to Swap Force for the Xbox One, he kind of, did a double take and balked at the price a little bit. And like it was listed at $49.98. And he proceeded to type in $29.98. And then took a pen and crossed out the price on the label. I'm assuming that's so I can't come back and try to return this game for $50 instead of the 30 that I paid. But hey, I'm not going to complain about a $20 discount. He didn't even mention it. That's I think the weirdest part to me is that he didn't say, hey, I'm going to give you this discount, or hey, that I think that's overpriced, or that's an error or something like that. He just lowered the price and gave me my total, and we were out the door. So here we picked up a few games. We got Spyro's Adventure for the 3DS. I believe that's our first 3DS pickup of this trip. Got a copy of Trap Team for the Wii U. And then again, as I've been telling you, this is a big trip for the Xbox One. We got another copy of Trap Team for the Xbox One and another copy of Swap Force for the Xbox One. But now I am here at McKay's. I did have to skip one of my planned locations next, and I was kind of excited about this one because it was another place that I had just researched, not something that was recommended to me, but it was a little kind of indoor flea market style thing, but based around toys and collectibles. And from the pictures I saw online, it looked really fun and really cool. Once again, probably no Skylanders there. I mean, there's a small possibility because, I mean, it is like a, multiple vendors type of area. And so there's always a chance that some vendor might be selling Skylanders, but no guarantees. So I think I'm going to have to add that to my list of things to do when I come back to Nashville sometime. I got some tips from someone this week about shopping for Skylanders in Nashville, and some different places to try, and some different times of the week, specific times of the week to try. And unfortunately that just didn't line up with my schedule, but I'm gonna have to make another trip specifically down here just to make sure I hit those days of the week, and flea markets on the weekend and stuff like that. But for tonight, I am here at McKay's. Thankfully, they are open later. All my normal game stores are kind of closed now. McKay's is still open till 9, I believe. And then I might be able to hit one more Game Exchange. I think they're open a little bit later as well. So we'll see how we do with time. But let's head into McKay's and see if I have better luck than the last time I was here. Well, not much to speak of at McKay's tonight, but I also didn't leave empty-handed. So got one Nightmare Express here and one Platinum Sheep. It's something, just not as good as I've had before at other McKay's locations, but still, they carry Skylanders, and it's probably worth coming back and checking from time to time. Day 4. Today was the big day, day for the big meetup. The reason I planned this trip in the first place. The haul overall isn't that impressive necessarily. There were a few items I would prefer that I would pick up in person rather than have shipped, but in reality, I was just kind of itching to get back out on the road. So I use this pickup as an excuse to get back out on the road. So this collection that I picked up was a more or less complete collection through, say, the first 4 games roughly, but most of it was loose, out of box. So I'm not going to show off all of those figures. You can just assume that we'll have pretty much one of every figure through the first 4 games. What I will show you are a few of the pieces that are still in box, and you'll see sooner or later at a auction, probably over on Whatnot. So you want to make sure to keep your eyes open for auctions over on Whatnot. Typically we do Whatnot Wednesdays, and that's where you'll find most of the items that I'm about to show you at some point in the future. If you're not already signed up for Whatnot, I have a link down in the description below, or you can scan the QR code right up here and sign up for Whatnot and get $15 in free Whatnot credit. That can be used at one of my auctions or anybody else's on the platform. But here we have a new in-box Scorpion Striker Battle Pack. So that had the Series 2 Zap and Series 1 Hot Dog in that pack there. We also got this Wham Shell. I mean, we don't have the backing for it, but we got the figure, the card, the sticker, they're all in there. So it's still a nice pickup for sure. We got a few Eons Elite figures, like this Eons Elite Whirlwind, Eons Elite Chop Chop, Eons Elite Trigger Happy, and of course Eons Elite Spyro. And then we came across a few in-box Trap Team figures. This includes Nightlight, Thunderbolt, and some of the most elusive, we have Spotlight and Blackout, new in box. All right, I made a big pickup this morning in Birmingham, and then I had to drive 3.5 hours to Memphis. So now it's 2:45, and I am now visiting my first game exchange location of the day. The pickup this morning got delayed about 2 hours, unfortunately. There was a family or work emergency or something that happened, so we couldn't meet up at our original time. But now we're back on track for the most part, or at least as much as we can be. And I have a list of like 10 or so game exchange locations to get to today. Probably not going to get to all of them, but we'll get to as many as we can and hopefully find lots of Skylanders. Well, stop number 1 was basically par for the course on this trip so far. Figures are very hard to come by in stores right now, it feels like. I don't know if it's just stores aren't buying as many, or if they're popular and they're selling out as fast as they can get them. But I mean, we're just seeing starter pack figures and damaged figures, and that's not something I can buy, especially at their prices. It was good to see that games were plentiful at this store, so we did pick up a big stack of games. But don't worry, I also left plenty of them there. If you're in the area, you can check that out, and there's still some games there for you. At this game exchange stop, we got games. For the PS3, we have Trap Team and Imaginators. For the Nintendo Wii, we picked up 4 more copies of Spyro's Adventure. For the Nintendo Wii U, we picked up 3 copies of Skylanders Imaginators. And for the Xbox One, we grabbed 1 more copy of Imaginators. But now we're on to game exchange number 2 for the day, and we'll see what kind of luck we have here. Well, things are starting to look up. More games at this store, including a nice Xbox One pickup there, but also a few portals, and I managed to scrape together a few figures. I mean, majority, once again, starter pack, damaged, painted figures in the bin, but there were still a handful that I could pick up if you were willing to dig through all the other riffraff. We got 1 Traptanium portal for the 360. and 2 Traptanium portals for PlayStation or Nintendo. In the figure department, got a Series 2 Zap, Series 2 Zook, and we found a Stink Bomb. For the games, we got a copy of Trap Team for the 3DS, Spyro's Adventure for the Nintendo Wii, and we grabbed 2 more copies of Imaginators for the Wii U. Spyro's Adventure for the 360, Trap Team for the 360, and yet another copy of Trap Team for the Xbox One. I just took a look at the stacks of games we have so far from this trip, and this may be a first, but the Xbox One stack is taller than the Xbox 360 stack. Not usually how these hunts go, but I'll take it. All right, moving right along. Game exchange number 3 on the day. Third one still here in the Memphis area. I don't think they're all technically in Memphis, but they're close enough. We're gonna call it the Memphis area. So let's hope our luck continues and maybe even gets a little bit better. So this shop had a handful of games, but they're all in pretty rough shape, so I decided to pass on those. And I thought my luck might be running out here until I found the figure bin. And it turned into one of the best stops that we've had on this trip. We got 11 figures here. So, I mean, it's not a huge haul, but there's some good figures. Let's take a look. Got Sunburn, Whamshell, 2 Voodooed, and then managed to find the entire Legendary Trio. Legendary Chop Chop, Legendary Bash, and Legendary Spyro. From Skylanders Giants, got a Series 2 Zook and a Series 2 Slam Bam. Then I also found a Power Punch Pet Vac. And believe it or not, you may have already seen it in the footage, but there in fact was a Legendary Tri-Tip. Basically the only, non-starter pack Imaginator there, but Legendary Tri-Tip just sitting right there. I can't find anything wrong with him, so I think that's a stellar find. Made it to the 4th and I believe final location in the Memphis area. I mean, once again I say Memphis area, but we actually journeyed into Mississippi. So, new state. Hey, let's check it out. See what they got, see if our luck continues or continues to grow. Who knows at this point, but we will explore Game Exchange once again. Not quite as good in there. Still got a few decent things, some more games, some more portals. My figure luck ran out for now, but we're gonna keep shopping, keep going. But I do have a little bit of a drive ahead of me now. Headed out to Arkansas for the first time. Got a few shops to check out there, and we'll report back in once we get there. Grabbed 3 more Traptanium portals for the Xbox 360. Copy of Superchargers for the PS3. Found another copy of Giants for the Wii U. And believe it or not, 2 more copies of Imaginators for the Wii U. All right, the journey has continued into Arkansas, specifically the Little Rock area. And I have a few game exchanges here as well. I told you today is all about game exchange. So we're going to check out the Arkansas locations here and see what we can do. Thankfully, even though it's getting dark out, it's about 8 o'clock right now. Bigger chains like Game Exchange stay open later. So most Game Exchange locations stay open until 9 o'clock most evenings. So that is very good for us. Well, that was a solid start for Arkansas. We'll see if the other stores can keep up with this one. They did have a number of games, a ton of portals, and I mean, they had a bin of figures, but for as large as it was and how much it had in it, it was actually kind of impressive how many starter pack figures there were in that bin. This series of game exchange locations was very good for portals. A lot of times I had to dig through the bins and untangle wires, but it's worth it for these portals because people are always looking for them. The Traptanium portals, if you're unaware, can be used on all 6 games. They're the only portal that can be used on all 6 games, and that's why people are looking for them so often. So here we picked up 4 more Traptanium portals for the Xbox 360. We got a few figures here as well. 2 little healing elixirs, 1 twin blade chop chop, and then a couple of games. We got Giants for the PS3 and Imaginators for the PS4. All right, we got time for one more stop in Little Rock here, about 8:40, 8:38. So we're gonna make this one. I don't think we're gonna make the 3rd stop though, because once again, I just don't want to be that guy. Let's go check this one out and see if we can find something good to finish off the night. So definitely not our best stop, but far from the worst. So I'll call that a win and say goodnight. Got another Traptanium portal, this one for PlayStation or Nintendo consoles. Another copy of Imaginators for the Wii U. An Archean crossbow, Gusto, Hurricane Jetvac, and a Fire Captain's Hat trap. Day 5. My trip up to this point had certainly not gone to plan. So I shouldn't have expected anything less from today. All right, we're back at it for another day of Skylanders hunting. Still in Arkansas today, Conway, Arkansas to be specific. Got a game exchange here and then another local shop that we'll check out very soon. But first, game exchange, we'll see how they do. That was a strong start to the day. I will take that as our first stop. Let's hope we can keep this energy going. I unfortunately don't think I'll be able to make too many stops today. It's going to be a lot of driving to make up for some of the scheduling issues we've had earlier in the trip. Got to make sure we get home in time to return the rental. This stop, a little bit of everything. Managed to find a red drill sergeant. Grabbed a Traptanium portal for the Xbox 360. And then we got a stack of games. Spyro's Adventure for the 3DS. Imaginators for the PS3. Another copy of Giants for the Wii U. And finally, 2 copies of Superchargers for the Xbox One. Next up, we have Game Point. Or if you watch a lot of YouTube about video game resellers, you may know Retro Rick. Retro Rick's Game Point is here in Conway, Arkansas as well, and we're gonna go check it out. I honestly don't even know if he has Skylanders in the store. I don't think I've ever seen them in the videos he puts out, but I mean, I don't expect him to talk about them much, so it's very possible that we'll be able to find some, and we'll see what we can do. Regardless, I'm in the area. I wanted to check out the shop, so we're gonna have some fun. So quick thoughts on Retro Rick's Game Point there. I've heard it in the videos before that they talk about the smell of the store, and I completely understand why they talk about the smell of the store now. It does have a distinct smell. Like, it's not a bad smell, but there is a smell that it hits you right when you walk in. But otherwise, the store is sizable, well laid out, well stocked. They got all sorts of stuff going on. There are a bunch of employees in there. I'm sure because it's a Saturday, they probably have extra staff working. I'm guessing it's one of their busier days. But unfortunately, they do not carry Skylanders figures. I talked to some of the employees, and apparently since Rick bought the store, they stopped carrying the figures. They just weren't selling. So, like, I get it. But that's just one more reason why I need to continue running SCL Collectibles and the SCL Marketplace, because physical stores just don't want to stock Skylanders figures. But like I said, I had some conversations with some of the employees. They were all very, very friendly, very willing to talk, very helpful. Those are the kind of employees that I would want to employ at a game store like that. And if I ever get a physical space someday, I hope I can find some employees like that as well. There were multiple conversations going on about different things, different games, Pokemon cards, all sorts of stuff while I was in there. And like, no one was giving like short, abrupt, leave me alone type of answers to questions. It was always elaborating on things and giving customers all the time and attention necessary to answer all their questions. And that's fantastic customer service. With all that being said, I didn't leave empty-handed. I did pick up a few games, so we'll add those to the list and continue on.
Decided to grab Swap Force for the 3DS, Giants for the Nintendo Wii, found another copy of Swap Force for the Xbox One, and also grabbed Imaginators for the PS4.
Now the only question is, do I head back down to Little Rock to hit the game exchange that I couldn't hit last night before it closed? It's a 30-minute drive one way, so that adds another hour to my day. But at the same time, the stores here in Arkansas have been pretty good for Skylanders. So it might be worth checking out. And like I said, today I don't have that many stops planned. And once I leave Arkansas, I'm not planning on stopping anywhere until St. Louis. And most of those stops might have to happen tomorrow because it's a hefty 6 or 7 hour drive, I think. So I am considering going back down to Little Rock and seeing that store there, and then I think I have one more game exchange location here in Arkansas before I completely leave the state. Let's go find some more Skylanders. So I did make the decision to come back down to Little Rock and hit up one more game exchange down here. So let's hope it was worth it. Pretty average game exchange stop in Arkansas here. Number of games, some portals, some figures. If you're willing to dig through the bin of figures, you can find a few things to take home even. Non-starter pack figures. So I did that, and I got a little bit of everything.
Got a Traptanium portal for Nintendo or PlayStation. We got 3 copies of Spyro's Adventure for the Nintendo Wii, 1 copy of Trap Team for the Wii, and we added 1 more copy of Giants for the Wii U. And then I had to do a lot of digging for very little reward, but we did pick up a few figures. There's a Dune Bug, a Tidal Wave Gil Grunt, and a little guy named Bop.
All right, one more game exchange in Arkansas. I believe this is going to be my final stop of the day. Tomorrow should be a big day, but this is the last stop in Arkansas, and then I have a lot of driving to do. So let's check it out and hope for some more good luck. Well, that was a solid finish to the day. This store held true to pretty much all the Arkansas game exchanges I've visited over the past couple days. Lots of games. They are portals. They at least have a bin of figures. Mostly starter pack figures and damaged figures, but still, I think, found something to take home from pretty much every store I've stopped at recently. So I'll count that as a win.
Got 3 Trap Team portals for Nintendo or PlayStation. Grabbed 3 more copies of Imaginators for the Wii U. If you haven't caught on yet, Game Exchange, Imaginators on the Wii U, very, very underpriced. So we grab almost every copy we see of this. I did leave a few on the shelves in case anyone local wants them, but I do grab the majority of them. Got a whole stack of games for the PS3, including Spyro's Adventure, Giants, Trap Team, and Imaginators. Finally, found a good stash of 3DS games here as well. So grab Spyro's Adventure, Swap Force, and another Trap Team.
Like I said, I think that's all I got for today. I think by the time I get to the St. Louis area, all the game stores are going to be closing. I don't know what it is about Missouri, but you folks that live here have impeccable timing. This is the second trip I've been on where I got a private message or email while I was on the road headed towards Missouri from someone who wanted to sell me some stuff. So I had to do a little bit of rerouting, but we made it happen. We made a deal and got to pick up a few more things on this trip. That was worth it. Happy to meet some more community members. Michael, thank you very much. And we'll continue on this journey.
In Springfield, I met up with Michael, who would sell me a few new in-box Skylanders. These are all the more special because they're a little bit older, but they're in very good shape. I won't pull them all out right now. I'll make sure to get them on camera so you can see exactly what's here. But we got 3 Wrecking Balls. We have 3 Eruptors. There's 3 Zaps, 3 Dino Rangs, 5 Warnados, and last but certainly not least, we have 5 of my boy Camo. Always love to see this one in the box in fantastic condition. So once again, if you're looking for new unboxed Skylanders, this is the type of thing that will come out on our Whatnot Wednesday shows over on Whatnot. So that is the type of item we tend to have over there. New in box, damaged figures, things that we can't sell in the shop. So be sure to sign up, join us over there, and you'll see these show up from time to time throughout the next few months probably. Day 6.
Back for another day of Skylanders hunting. Starting today in southern Illinois, we will be dipping into the St. Louis area, Missouri there for most of the afternoon and then coming back to Illinois. So we got a lot of stops to make. Unfortunately, because of some of the delays in my trip, I won't be able to hit all the spots that I was planning on because it is now Sunday and a lot of the smaller independent shops are closed on Sundays. I will be hitting up a lot of chain stores today, basically, a lot of vintage stock type locations, and we'll go from there. My first stop today is a place I have been before. It is in a mall. Actually, a lot of these are going to be in malls today. If you recall, this was from the last video, one of the last hunting videos I did, where I arrived here one night and they were closed because of a water main break. But then they apparently got it fixed and I was able to come back the next morning and check out the stores. So this morning, it does not look like there's any water main break. There's plenty of cars here. It's still early. The mall just opened a few minutes ago, but we're gonna go check it out and then make our little loop. Not quite as good as last time I was here. Vintage stock, their prices are fair. It just means that, yeah, they're not prices I can pay when I'm picking stuff up for my shop. Now, if you are local to this area, I would recommend shopping there. This time, Vintage Stock in particular had a pretty good selection of stuff. I mean, they had the Midnight Museum and Sunscraper Spire. They had a Ghost Roaster. They had a bunch of decent stuff that you don't always find in these stores. And like I said, they were fairly priced, $1 or $2, usually $1 or $2 above what I would charge in my shop. And therefore, like I said, I can't buy it for the shop. But if you're local and looking for it, go here. It's there and not going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Vintage stock, one thing they're good for me at least, is Dark Light Crypt. Their price works for me, and I will pick them up pretty much anytime I see them there. But this was literally all I got there this time.
Slackers, on the other hand, I think is where I had more luck last time I was here. I don't know if they had just gotten in a fresh collection or what, but the figures this time were very, very sparse. I did end up getting a couple of games, but that was about it.
At this store today, I picked up 2 games. Got Spyro's Adventure for the Wii and Giants for the Wii as well.
All right, on to vintage stock, or I guess V stock. I still don't understand that branding. On to vintage stock number 2 for the day. There's gonna be quite a few of these, but we'll check them out, see what we can find. I have a feeling it's gonna be roughly the same story at all the locations, but I rarely leave empty-handed, so we'll see what happens this time. So that stop ended up being way better than anticipated. I got a little bit of everything: games, Portal, figures. It was a good stop, and there are plenty more to be had. Once again, if you're local, fair prices. I have to be very selective with what I buy, but they're fair prices for any collector out there.
This location seems significantly larger than most vintage stock or V stock locations that I go to, and I was pleasantly surprised by the selection of everything, including Skylanders here. Because of that, we were able to pick up a little bit of everything. We got a Swap Force Portal for the Xbox One, found another copy of Giants for the Wii U, along with Trap Team for the Wii U. From Spyro's Adventure, we got Boomer and another legendary Spyro. Then I picked up this Life Toucan Trap. Once again, not necessarily a price I would normally pay if it were just a Life Toucan Trap, but because it has the potential to be a villain variant trap, there's potential to have Steamed Broccoli Guy in here. I decided to pick it up. I'll at least break even if it's not a Steamed Broccoli Guy, but if it is, I come out ahead. So we'll see where it goes. And finally, I picked up a few vehicles. Found a Shield Striker and Thump Truck.
Well, compared with the last 2 stops, that was a disappointment. Very, very picked over figure stock. I didn't see a single Skylanders game in the entire store, which is really odd, honestly. Usually if I don't see Skylanders games in the rack, it means they are keeping them separately, like by the figures or something like that. They've made a Skylanders section, kind of like we saw at the last vintage stock. But this store, just nothing. So I walked out of the store with nothing. All right, I believe I have made it to our last vintage stop location of the day. This one is also branded as V stock. For whatever reason, again, I just don't understand why. But anyway, we're gonna go inside and hope for better luck than the last stop. Maybe something more like the first 2 stores that we had. That would be appreciated. Unfortunately, that was another disappointment. They had some games, they had some figures, technically. They were commingled with the Disney Infinity, and I mean, I can kind of see why, because it was 95% at least Disney Infinity, and very, very few, like not even a lot of starter pack figures for Skylanders, just like maybe 10 Skylanders figures overall that I saw. Very disappointing. Moving on, I believe I have a couple of Slackers locations yet to visit back in Illinois. So I'm gonna head that way and see if we can wrap up today with a few more purchases. I'm really hoping here. All right, made it down to the Alton Square Mall, home of one of my last 2 Slackers locations for today. Let's go check it out. Now that was a very good stop. I mean, I didn't necessarily pick up that much, but they had games, they had portals, they had figures, they had a good selection of figures. The figures were priced well. I mean, for the average collector, once again, like, I struggled to find stuff that I could buy, but I did still buy a couple of things. The fact of the matter is that places like this that stock Skylanders physically in stores are getting harder and harder to find. And so anytime you find a store like this that has the figures, has good selection, maybe they just got it in a collection, I don't know, but I'm happy to see it.
Picked up a couple of Trap Masters here. Found ourselves another Jawbreaker and a Wildfire. And then I found one more Xbox One game. We found yet another copy of Swap Force for the Xbox One. Once again, the employee kind of was shocked by the price and actually went into the system and looked it up to make sure that this game was priced correctly, because they were surprised by it. It's one of those Xbox One, PS4 titles for Skylanders that they're kind of outliers compared to the other Skylanders games, and so they do cost a bit more. They are harder to find, and the price they are priced accordingly. So Skylanders Swap Force for the Xbox One. We got, I think, our third copy this trip.
All right, made it to one last Slackers location here. This could be our last stop of the day. I'm not entirely sure yet. It's the last store on my list for today. There's the possibility there might be one or two more stores I could stop at. We'll see. We'll see how I feel as we drive down the road. But for the time being, Slackers, here we come. Well, that turned out as one of those, definitely not the best, but definitely not the worst. Like, we've had a lot worse stops on this trip.
Not a huge pickup at this last location, but we did still find some things to take home. We got 3 healing elixirs, grabbed 2 copies of Giants for the Nintendo Wii, and then 2 more copies of Swap Force for the 3DS.